Hello my friends and welcome. This time we have the advancement of Ukrainian forces near to Robotyne westbound. Our guys are planning to expand the bridgehead even more. From this military map we may see that the actual front line goes all across this red line. The fighting is ongoing in Novoprokopivka and very close to Kopany. All of that is the gray area actually, and this dark blue territory is confirmed to be freed from the Russian occupiers today. It is not the fighting area any longer because Ukraine was able to take those trenches under control. Plus, what is very important in this place that our guys were able to get to the high elevation in this area, 172 meters. The rest of the areas, like for example here and here, are lower compared to this ground. We're also gonna look at the 3D map a little later. Ukraine stopped the offensive towards Novoprokopivka and Verbovo directly. Now there is the vector near to this place and also towards Kopany. Without taking Kopany under control, it's better not to propel forward to Novoprokopivka because Russia may strike from this side. Ukraine still has the initiative on the south compared to the Russian forces because we take the ground over there, but the Ukrainian advancement unfortunately is not that fast compared to what happened around 2 months ago. Yes, we take the ground, but it is happening very slowly, and I don't see the picture to improve this year. It is already the cold time, the late autumn period, so to perform the counter-offensive maneuvers or offensive maneuvers in this area, breaking through the Russian defense lines, it's quite unreal. Also, as many of the experts say, there is uncertainty whether Ukraine will have the promised military help from the allies, from the United States of America. According to the latest information, the United States Senate is looking to split the military help to Israel and to Ukraine. It doesn't mean that Ukraine will not receive it, but probably we're gonna get lower than expected according to the Biden's program. But the support for Ukraine will continue. We'll see in 2024 whether the Ukrainian counterattack operation will be successful, because there are going to be elections in the United States, so President Biden needs to show some result that definitely under his ruling Ukraine was able to take the ground. We also have the confirmation from the Mykovsk 73, the military analytic, and he says that definitely Ukraine propels from Robotyne taking the ground. I think just this part, this one was taken previously. There is also the natural obstacle, this river, so Ukraine needs to propel and the further movement could be harder than what it is right now. Now let's go to the 3D map. So this territory was liberated today by Ukrainian army, Ukrainian forces. Let's zoom into the place. So the elevation was taken. Those Russian defense lines, you may see the red lines over here, are under control by Ukrainian forces. So all of the nearby terrain is on a lower ground compared to this tiny little hill, but it's very significant if we speak about the slow advancement tactics which Ukrainian command chose for the advancement on the south. If we look at the territory which Ukraine was able to liberate since the summertime, mostly it is located on a downhill, lower than the average elevation in this area. That's why it's kind of hard to advance from this place, and that's why it's hard to break the Russian defense which is located on the upper ground. So this is the Novoprokopivka, and if you want to advance from this place, you need to go all up this hill and then you go to the village. As for the Verbovo village, the situation there is more profitable for Ukraine because it's also on a downhill in this valley, so you don't really need to fight with terrain here. Okay, and we also have the update from the Deep State military map resource. They confirmed the movement of Ukrainian armed forces close to Robotyne. Awesome. About the Ukrainian strategy in general for this war, there was a big article released by the Time magazine. The headline with President Zelensky, "Nobody believes in our victory like I do. Nobody." It's the quote from President Zelensky's speech that he visited United States of America not long time ago. Kind of interesting article, I might say. It opens more questions about the Ukrainian government and also about the Western support of democracy. From what I understood, the current White House administration is willing to help Ukraine with more arms, but there are some speculations ongoing in the United States politics about the Ukrainian topic. Some of the congressmen are just blocking the military support of Ukraine, so they play in this war on their solo politician goals. By supplying the military aids to Ukraine, United States also creates the jobs inside the United States. More production of the weaponry, the renewal of it. We mostly have the old vehicles that were produced before. It is also profitable for the United States economy in general and for the military companies, which increased their stock market ratings. Nevertheless, I'm still quite positive about the Ukrainian support. Ukraine will obtain more military help, especially fighter jets, so the next year should be a game changer for our army, especially on the south. About the other parts on the front lines, let's speak about this area for the moment. Today, Ukraine shelled the Russian positions across the Dnieper River. Probably it is the preparation for something bigger. We even have the confirmation from the Ukrainian drone, and those are the Russian positions on fire. So I expect that Ukrainian forces which landed across the Dnieper River will go on a further counterattack with more reinforcements, taking more ground. Avdiivka. For today, Russia wasn't able to gain more ground, but they tried with their failed attack attempt. As usual, they perform it from the north part, from Krasnogorivka village, and Ukraine just cut their forces. As usual, Russia used the armored vehicles, infantry forces, and their tanks, which were totally kaputted by Ukrainian FPV drones and artillery. My friends, I'm unable to publish the full video about the case, so please check out my Telegram channel. It is available in the video description just below. You may join it to be constantly updated about the situation in Ukraine, and not only. Ukraine was also able to eliminate the Russian demining engineering vehicle Ukr-Rus which fires the special TNT rope set, remotely demining the fields. We also have those kind of the vehicles in Ukrainian army, plus the Western-made analogs. Russia also tried to assault near to the Bakhmut area. They deployed some of the infantry forces from 2 of the armored vehicles. Guys, here I am unable to show you what happened to them, but try to guess. There were some of the missile strikes reported today in Sevastopol and Saki. Those are the locations of the 2 main important military Russian bases on the western side of Crimea. I would say Sevastopol is the most important Russian military base in Crimea. And the kabooms were confirmed by the images taken from the places. About the Berdyansk airfield, which was attacked by the ATACMS missiles not long time ago, well, today we have the satellite images showing that Russia has removed all of the helicopters which survived the attack. Berdyansk was the only place for them to operate those helicopters. Helicopters do not have that range as the airplanes, so they require the airfield to be in a close proximity to the front lines. If Russia moves their helicopters to Jankoy, for example, Crimea, they will be not able to operate them on the front lines successfully. Netherlands is going to send their F-16 airplanes to Romania very soon, in 2 weeks, so Ukrainian pilots might start their training in Romania. The scenario is similar to the Abrams tanks, which United States sent at first to Germany for the training, and then those were delivered to Ukraine from Germany. By the way, I haven't seen the Abrams tanks so far on the front lines. This heartbreaking image was shared on many of the Ukrainian channels. Here we see the son of one of the Ukrainian warriors 10 days ago. He is on a meeting asking for a foundation of the army. My father is in the army. I ask funds for the Ukrainian armed forces. And there were many people around on that meeting. Why is it happening? Because of the corruption. The local town and city administrations spend their money for some bullshit. It happens a lot in Ukraine, but the country is in the middle of the war. At the same time that the normal people collect the funds to help the Ukrainian army, the local Ukrainian officials are buying the useless stuff. One of the most useless, as I remember, are the drums for the bomb shelters. They were up to spend millions for that, and after that story appeared in the social media, they refused to buy the drums after all. It is just a single example, and there are lots of that stuff. The other thing was to buy some alcohol for the local administration's celebration of something, so it's complete madness, and mostly it is happening locally in cities administrations and the town administrations. We call it sowing the budget funds instead of spending them for Ukrainian army. So in 9 days, this boy lost his father. Today I have received the email from one of the stupid fools. He says that I'm spreading the Russian propaganda, not helping Ukraine, speaking about corruption. What you should have done is not mentioning anything negative about Ukraine until the war is over. That is what a true patriot would do, he says. You just couldn't keep your fucking mouth shut up, and you're hurting your own country, risking the lives of the people. I have always felt you supported Russia. Many people see it. Well, the full email I may share with you, it's anonymous, sent by Sage. It is probably the nickname. I asked for his name and surname, so I want to make this guy famous. So the reason why I'm speaking about the corruption in Ukraine is basically on this photo. The more we speak about the corruption, the less it would be in Ukraine. And the more funds would go to the army, so we'll have less losses. Everyone in Ukraine understands that our government is corrupt, that our local administrations and officials are also corrupt. Corruption reached even Ukrainian army. People responsible for mobilization of Ukrainian men are now millionaires because they take the bribes. It is the known fact. Tons of the investigations are ongoing. So it is not just me. Every Ukrainian blogger nowadays speaks about the corruption in Ukraine. No one is satisfied with it. Okay, let's switch to the other news. Putin called Ukraine and West responsible for the recent riots in Makhachkala airport in Dagestan, Russia. Very interesting. So those barbarians were running around the airfield searching for the Jews to punish them for what is happening in Gaza. But somehow Ukraine and West managed to perform this operation without actually being in Makhachkala airfield. Are we using the special race to disturb the behavior of the people in Dagestan? But I guess that Putin is just unable to see the nail in his own eye. What is quite interesting about the yesterday's case that no Jews were hurt, but the crowd took the airfield under control, causing the devastation to the terminal building, to the area around the airport, and to the shops. The crowd basically broke and looted everything they could. The damage was caused for millions of dollars, or dozens of millions of rubles. At the same time, there were some clashes between protesters themselves and between protesters and police. Again, no Jews were hurt. Some of the locals were wounded and delivered to hospital. As it was reported at first, one policeman lost his life, but later on we got the disapproval for that information. And the most important thing, that this incident shows that Russia needs the denazification. It is one more step in fighting between the Russian elites and in chaos to appear inside the Russian Federation. But Putin doesn't want to see it. For him, it's better to hide in the bunker. By doing so, he's just accelerating the fall of Russia into civilian war. It may start at any moment. Remember the Wagner parade to Moscow. Since that time, we understand that Russia is not the robust state and very fragile. The ceasefire between Saudi forces and Houthi rebels in Yemen finished. The conflict sparked today again with 4 Saudi soldiers' losses, unfortunately. The Saudi forces downed a missile which was fired by Iran-backed group. It was flying towards Israel. I think that in some turn point, Saudi Arabia is even the ally of Israel, because it has the direct enemy just on the border, Houthi, which is backed up by Iran, like Hamas is backed up by Iran too. Yes, we live in strange times, but it's interesting to see this cooperation. Actually, it's awesome. And for sure, Saudi Arabia would never go to fight against Israel or the Western countries. I think that now it's more loyal to the Western allies than Turkey, for example. Why? Because Saudis invested billions of dollars into the United States and into the West. They also developed Saudi Arabia quite a lot recently thanks to those investments. They try to get rid of the oil as the only resource for their economy. Yes, they still have the old school laws that many people do not like, but the vector for the proper development is there. Saudi Arabia nowadays is much more liberal compared to what it was 20 years ago. It is total absurd to compare Arabs who live in Saudi Arabia and who live in Gaza. Gaza is ruled by the terrorist organization Hamas. It has no development. The only goal for the Hamas organization is to get rid of Israel and of the people who live there. By the way, they are not reaching their goals. Instead, IDF is going to Gaza. We have the recently published map where Israeli forces went from the north part, and also they penetrated the only supply road, and probably in the nearby future would reach this shore, cutting this part of Gaza away from the other part. It is understandable that Israel had started the ground operation in Gaza, and they're not willing to end it no matter what. So as we foresee with you, my friends, Israeli army will take Gaza under control. What will happen next? No one knows. It's hard to establish the control over 2 million people who mainly do not like Israel. At the same time, the promise of Iran to join the war against Israel in case Israel starts the ground operation in Gaza was just bluffing. Now they say that if Israel continues the operation, they'll engage in conflict. Well, definitely there is no any country which is capable to stop Israel. So in any case, the operation will continue. My opinion on that I already told in many of my videos. The Prime Minister of Israel, Netanyahu, just confirmed my words. So Israel will not agree to ceasefire. It's time for war. Israel will not surrender to Hamas. So the war continues until Israel will solve the problem with Hamas. That's it. Does Israel has the resources for this war? Obviously it does. According to the Wagner official channels, they are going to Ukraine again, but this time the Wagner organization belongs to Rosguard, which in its turn belongs to Vladimir Putin directly. However, there is not much left from the previous Wagner forces, and under the direct Russian general's command, especially from the Rosguard, those could be very incompetent forces, for example as Storm Z. One more private army mostly consists of the prisoners. But again, it shows that Russia is interested in the long-term conflict, even though today Shoigu said that they are ready to negotiate about the future perspective of the relations between Russia, Ukraine, and the West after the war is over. At the same time, the actions of Russia are totally opposite. They are sending more forces to Ukraine. My friends, don't forget to press the like to this video, and also if you want to support my job, there will be some of the links in the video description just below. Special thanks for my Patreon supporters and the sponsors of my YouTube channel. Guys, you are awesome. I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.